Are you feeling stressed planning your honeymoon? So burnt out that you've totally had to put your honeymoon plans on the back burner? In today's episode, I'm going to run through some very practical and realistic tips to ensure that you have all the tools to plan the perfect honeymoon. Stay tuned after this important announcement. Hey, I'm Steph, and I'm obsessed with all things travel, marketing, branding, and helping you stand out from the crowd. In just under 2 years, I went from being a home-based travel agent with zero clue how to make it work in the digital world to launching an international ranking travel podcast and creating an online course to help travel agents in lead generation. Here's one thing I know for sure. There has never in the history of the world been a better time to create the travel business you've always wanted. All you need is an actionable strategy and someone to show you the way. Picture this, we're going to spend the next hour of our time together at the Swim Up Pool Bar where over a cocktail, we deep dive into travel-related topics, mixed with a little classroom training. This show is dedicated to encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and into your travel business. I'll show you how I did it and how you can too. Hit subscribe now and let's get into it. If you're a travel agent wanting to onboard your perfect fit clients into your biz, download my free cheat sheet for lead generation systems you can use right now. Head to stephaniemyers.academy/cheat sheet. You're listening to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Hello and welcome back to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Wow, it is so totally great to be back. This, in fact, is my first episode back on the air for 2021, and I am super excited to be here on the air after a very relaxing and really chilled Christmas and New Year's period. I really hope that you're having the most fabulous start to 2021. I know a lot of people within my travel community online have been hanging on to the hopes that pretty big things are going to happen this year and being the best year ever and all that sort of thing. With that being said, I really hope that you're allowing yourself time and space to achieve everything that you want with flow, ease, and taking everything in its stride. Because if we haven't noticed, we're still partially walking into 2021 with some muddy boots on. So just be gentle with yourselves. For those who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Stephanie Myers and I'm your travel agent and your host. And I want to start off with a massive, big, warm welcome to our travel community. If you're a loyal listener, thank you for joining me back on the air and thank you so much for your continued love and support in 2020. This has been a terrific time in my career. So many people near and far supporting my role as a travel agent and a podcaster, so much that I want to quickly share some really cool stats with you. Since relaunching my podcast in October 2020, in the first 6 weeks, I managed to reach 2,000 episode downloads and I launched into number 12 on the Apple Podcast charts here in Australia for the category of places and travel. The podcast also appeared in 3 international Apple Podcast charts. I ranked in the top 50 in New Zealand, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates, all while still ranking highly here in Australia, which is absolutely massive. Considering the year that it was for travel last year in 2020, it was such a huge highlight to see the year out on such an incredible high. I could not have done this without you. You sharing your pod love among your network, your friends, your colleagues, your girl gangs, and tuning in Wednesday after Wednesday. It's been such an exciting experience, and I cannot wait to bring you more incredible content in 2021. To kick off this year with celebration, love, and the beginning of wedding season, today's episode is inspired by a very special event here on the Tweed Coast of northern New South Wales and to celebrate my affiliation with Tweed Coast Weddings. This event is now in its fourth year, the Tweed Wedding Trail. It's now the largest moving wedding fair in our region, and some people may call me a bit biased, but it features 7 of the best wedding venues in the country and will have over 100 suppliers, including myself, where we'll be situated at different locations throughout the trail. In my professional opinion, in my years of being a travel agent, it's actually one of the most well run wedding events I've come across in my time in travel. And what I love about it is that the event is completely free. There's no entry tickets, you don't have to pay a one off fee to talk to the suppliers. All you have to do is jump onto the Tweed Coast Wedding website and register online, download the Tweed Wedding Trail booklet, and make your way through. And as you go through, you've got the total freedom to explore each venue at your own pace, take advantage of the very, very rare chance to chat to industry professionals who specialize in their field of wedding expertise. And they're all in one spot. Well, not technically in one spot, but in one region, which is fantastic. This year, I will be situated at a gorgeous venue called Osteria, which is located in Casuarina, in a little place just nearby to Kingscliff in northern New South Wales. Osteria, like all of our other venues, is definitely a firm favourite when it comes to the perfect intimate wedding location. And let's face it, who would not want to get married here on Bundjalung country? Which brings me to the topic of today's episode: how to plan the perfect honeymoon. Right? We all hear about the honeymoon vibes. It's the fun after the big wedding day. Now, understandably, the stress that comes with wedding planning can completely be overwhelming. And to think of then having to plan a honeymoon in addition to everything else can definitely push you in the mindset of just keeping things simple or pushing the honeymoon back or blending it in with another trip that you may have already got in the pipeline, which, in my personal opinion, would just feel like another holiday. Am I right? So, to help avoid all of that stress and struggle, I've created a free 10-tip honeymoon checklist to eliminate all the plan overwhelm. So, if you're keen to get your hands on that, all the details will be available in the show notes, so stay tuned. But for right now, I'm ready to talk about all things honeymoons. So let's jump into the episode. Before we dive too deep, would you please join me while we recognise the generations of the local Aboriginal people of the Bundjalung Nation who have lived in and derived their physical, spiritual needs from the forests, rivers, lakes, and streams of this beautiful valley over thousands of years as the traditional owners and custodians of these lands. So, today we're going to start off with the topic of honeymoon planning because the number one question that I often get asked, and it's pretty much 99% of the time I get asked this question, is if there is such a thing as planning too early for your honeymoon. Now, understandably, wedding venues and celebrants do need to be booked quite a far distance in advance to secure things like special dates and highly sought after venues, etc. So, your honeymoon is really no different. However, there are a few more variables. And by that, I mean that there is quite a lot more flex in the planning process, unless, of course, your honeymoon plans are set in stone. And if this sounds like you, all I suggest is that you go into your honeymoon process with an open mind. If you're looking at a popular destination that isn't necessarily seasonal, and let's take a look at Hawaii for this example, it's reasonably sunny and warm all year round, with plenty to offer, different islands to choose from, loads of different accommodation styles from hotels, condos, resorts. You've basically got it all and you have so much to choose from. However, what sets honeymoons aside from your normal holiday is your special requests, which we will tap into more detail later in the episode. Popular destinations like Hawaii, I would book 9 to 12 months in advance. Or if you have your sights set on some more serious far-flung destinations and more bucket list items such as the Northern Lights in Scandinavia or chasing that seventh continent Antarctica, locations and experiences like these have a very limited time limit for bookings as the seasons are quite short and their peak seasons tend to book out quite a long way in advance. Now, as we're all very aware, at the time of recording, we are amidst the pandemic and travel bans are very much still a thing, even between our borders. So, there are many couples who are spending their honeymoons here in Australia. You may even be wondering how far in advance you would need to book for an Australian honeymoon. Well, all of that depends on the current circumstance and requires a lot more work in this current climate. So my advice would to be able would be so my advice would be to seek out a professional advisor early in the piece and then work together with your agent to map out your plans and seek out what your options are. The second most asked question is how do we pick a damn destination? And if this sounds like you, my piece of advice is that it definitely takes two people working together. While dividing and conquering works well for wedding planning, it can completely be one sided if there is only one person handling the honeymoon travel plans. So, honeymoon design should definitely be a joint venture, as it's the perfect opportunity to get creative and have some super high vibing fun together. My third most asked question is where do I even start? The best advice that I can give here is to seek out an experienced travel agent. And before you start sharing all of your ideas and asking for their advice, please, please, please take the time to sit down and get to know them as a human. Because you may agree that carefully selecting a travel agent is just as important as finding the perfect wedding celebrant. This person is going to be there on your wedding journey with you and may even get an invite to your wedding ceremony. So, you definitely want to make sure that you're not only making a professional acquaintance, but you are making a friend as well. Because really, you want someone who aligns with you, who understands you, and who is with you every step of the way. And more importantly, when you're strutting your stuff down that aisle, I want to be there for that. Also, having the total peace of mind, someone with experience is overseeing all of your budgets. Someone searching and eliminating and any unnecessary hidden costs can really assist in your budget goals as well. Travel agents also have such a big access to worldwide industry contacts who are there to assist us with any special requests that you may have, need, or want. And let's be honest, it's your honeymoon. You are definitely well within your rights to ask for pretty much anything that you want within reason, of course, and your TA, your travel agent, will be able to help alongside you to make that happen. It's one thing to say that a travel agent is a total dream weaver when it comes to honeymoon planning, but it can actually be so much more than that. Having someone in your corner looking after a pretty big chunk of wedding affairs will only allow you the space, freedom, and focus to bring your concentration back to other things you need to action on your long list of things you need to organize. Just leave it to us. We've spent the time together and we both feel we're on the same rhythm, we share the same vibe. Then you can hand on heart know that your honeymoon is definitely in great hands. So, in today's episode, we've spoken about how far in advance you need to plan depending on the style of honeymoon you're after. We've laid out how to best work out a honeymoon destination, remembering that it takes two people to honeymoon design. And last but not least, we dived into the importance of hiring a travel agent to look after your honeymoon affairs, while you need one to help eliminate the stress, overwhelm, and to maximize your fun and enjoyment. If you're keen to learn more tips on how to plan the perfect honeymoon for yourself, I've got the perfect resource for you. If all of that travel talk has got you in the mood of wanting more travel tips to plan the perfect honeymoon, head over to the show notes at travelbystephanie.com.au/honeymoon to download your free copy of the 10 must have travel planning tips honeymoon checklist. It has everything that you need to learn and everything that you need to know, and we'll also be covering what was in today's podcast with so much more. If you have enjoyed this episode, make sure that you've clicked subscribe. That's if you're in Apple Podcasts. And if you're in Spotify, make sure you click follow so you don't miss any of my episodes that release every Wednesday. And if you would like to leave me a rating and review, head over to Apple Podcasts, click the 5 stars, and leave me your review. Thanks again so much for joining me on another beautiful podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the 2021 Tweed Wedding Trail. And if you were able to attend, I hope that you got a lot out of it. And if you weren't able to attend, I hope that I've answered some of your burning honeymoon questions in this podcast episode. If you still have some more things that you want to know or if you want to ask, head over to the socials, DM me on Instagram. My handle is travel.by.stephanie if you need anything at all. Until next time, I look forward to chatting with you soon. Thanks again, happy planning, and all the best for 2021. Let's make it a great one. We'll chat soon. Bye.
And sometimes my mommy just got it. He's a travel agent all day. He works so hard. He's a travel agent and loves me.